What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. Today we have another Q&A, okay? So, post data 3631 says, thanks. How do you know you have it? We're talking about physiological insulin resistance. If you haven't watched that video, I'll put the link right here. I am not overweight, but I have to read it. Thanks. How do you know you have it? I have my period. I'm not overweight, but easily put on weight if I don't restrict calories. Okay, so two things. I want to talk about how you know you have physiological insulin resistance, and then I want to talk about answering her question specifically about the weight loss and calories. Okay, so as we talked about before, physiological insulin resistance is insulin resistance that is curated internally, meaning it's not exogenous, meaning your body, due to stress and due to lack of dealing with hormonal imbalances, creates over time chronic leaching of insulin, blood sugar, and you develop insulin resistance internally, right? So it's not an exogenous stressor per se, okay? So a couple signs that you have physiological insulin resistance. Really, there's some of the same signs that you have insulin resistance in general, right? So fasted elevated blood sugar, achy joints, have a terrible time sleeping, super hangry or sweaty after meals, like your body's having a hard time processing what you're eating, crashes in the middle of the day energy wise, you eat a high sugar meal and your hands get shaky, or you get sweaty, or you get super hot, super lethargy, things like that. You're always hungry constantly, like your body's not uptaking the food that you're eating. These are general signs of insulin resistance in general. Now, physiological insulin resistance, in my experience, tends to come from ketogenic low-carb dieting. So there's two things in here. There's the calorie restriction, and then the insulin resistance in general. So when you get physiological insulin resistance from, say, a restricted ketogenic or carnivore diet, there tends to be some other symptoms. Other symptoms like amenorrhea, right? So loss of your cycle, early onset menopausal symptoms, meaning you're not in perimenopause, but you're experiencing symptoms that seem to be acting like perimenopause, things like that. So for her, if you have your period and you're not overweight, I really don't think you have physiological insulin resistance. Now, you might be a little insulin resistant if you check your blood sugars, but you don't really have the signs of what I would consider physiological insulin resistance. Now, obviously, the best way to diagnose that, I'm not a medical doctor, so the best way to diagnose that is to go get your blood labs drawn and then get with a nutritionist or your primary and have that identified by looking at those blood numbers. But just based off of what you've given me, you don't have physiological insulin resistance. Physiological insulin resistance manifests itself in not necessarily always obvious symptoms because you're not connecting the dots, but when you know the dots, obvious symptoms, right? Another symptom that I want to touch on real quick is when you're eating the exact same amount of food, you're not just not losing weight anymore, you also over time start to gain weight. This happens for a couple reasons. One, you have less energy, so you're less active throughout the day. And generally this cues hunger, and so you binge sometimes once or twice a week, or maybe once every 2 weeks. So not only are you working out less and moving less, and so therefore what was a caloric deficit is no longer a caloric deficit, but you're also having extra calories a couple times a month, which is slowly adding on weight, where, over the past year you've gained 20 pounds and you don't know why. That's why, okay? So to answer your question though, if you can't lose weight unless you restrict calories, or if you know you're not restricting calories and you gain weight, there's nothing wrong with you. That is normal. If you eat in a caloric, I know this is a very phantom idea in the low carb space, but thermodynamics are thermodynamics. We can explain what's going on hormonally and internally that can kind of make it to where it seems like calories don't matter, but they matter. They matter, right? So if you restrict calories to lose weight, that's normal. If you have to track your food and restrict calories in order to lose weight, that's completely normal. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not any different than I am. I have to restrict calories in order to lose weight. Now, you don't want to do it too long, but in general, I would say post data, there's nothing wrong with you. Now, that's just looking at, again, the comment you gave me. We could definitely dive deeper if you wanted to, but that's generally my answer of symptoms of physiological insulin resistance, and then just addressing your situation based off what you've given me. I don't think there's anything wrong with you. I think you just need to track your food, and then when you get done tracking, you need to do a maintenance track So track how much food you need to eat to be able to order maintain, and then start to eyeball that and get a more intuitive view of like what you need to be doing to maintain your weight. So hope that helps. Hope that gives you all some answers. If you have any comments or questions, put them in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.